Now, after months and months and months and months of planning, I am super excited to bring to the candy shop this next individual. When I tell you I have been working on this interview for the longest, and I'm so excited right now. Without any further ado, Miss Raquel Lord, welcome to the candy shop. How are you, love?
I'm blessed. How you doing?
I am so excited to have you in the building. Before we even begin to talk about anything, I just have to give you a round of applause for simply being you and for working with me through all the adversities we've been through. Like, I've been trying to get you on the show since August, so I'm super excited to have you in the building today. So thank you so much for joining me in the candy shop.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, today marks a very, 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 very important day in the entertainment industry. Now, we have a lot to talk about the rock stocking Raquel Lord, but today is also, it marks 1 year since the homegoing of Whitney Houston. Raquel, when you think of Whitney Houston, like, what comes to mind automatically when you just hear the words Whitney Houston?
I think iconic and probably gone too soon. Very talented.
And
That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Wow. And what is one of your favorite Whitney songs?
One of my favorite, Lover for Life.
Perfect. And just trying to give us a little inside tea, do the Stars of the Century have anything special planned for Miss Whitney Houston on tonight?
No, unfortunately we don't. We schedule our productions basically like a month in advance, and so it was kind of it slipped by the radar on us actually. So we don't have anything special planned for Whitney, but we do have like new productions that we're bringing to the stage because we pride ourselves on that.
That's definitely what's up. Well, once again, I'm super excited to have you in the building. For those of you all who are just tuning in, it's the Candy Shop. Make sure you guys call in 818-572-2935 or log in online at blogtalkradio.com/touchyourneighbor because we have the wonderful and amazing Miss Raquel Lord in the building. We're talking about living inside out, and I'm so glad to have you in the building. Miss Raquel Lord, how long have you been the entertainer, Miss Raquel Lord, and how did you come up with the name?
Well, I've been entertaining now going on for 23 years professionally. I came up with the name because when I first started to do talent shows, a young lady, she was the former Miss Gay America, and also, I don't know if you remember the commercial of Raquel Welch. Her last name was Valerie Lore, and it's L-O-H-L, and then Raquel Welch was the figure that I always wanted to personify as a female, and I liked, how she exuded her characteristics as a female, and somewhat kind of sexy but still classy. And I just decided to change my last name to Lord opposed to Lord, and I took Raquel Welch's first name and took Lord and added the D to it. So that's how I came up with my name.
And you're definitely no stranger to the industry. You've been doing this for so long, and some of your major accomplishments. You have some of the most prestigious titles underneath your belt, ranging from Miss Black Universe to Miss Black Continental to Miss Black, Miss Gay USFA, Miss Black America, Miss World National, Miss Sweetheart International. Like, out of all of those titles, do you have a favorite, or was there at least one that you almost felt like, I don't know if I'm going to take this one home tonight?
My favorite probably was Black America because it gave me more purpose of my being, of being actually to give back to the community. For those of the people who don't know, Black America is a community-based pageant, and I've always tried to evolve and constantly grow as an individual. And knowing that, because I'm, constantly growing, I think we will always grow until the day we die, Black America taught me different avenues about not only taking the art form from a business standpoint, but also taking it to the community and being able to, help others in the community, because it's all about our service and what we do for people at the end of the day. If you're biblical, that's what the Bible teaches us, that we should be servants of others. It's better to give than to receive. So I've somewhat kind of prided myself on that, and I try to do that as much as possible. I can't do it with everybody because I'm human. So, and I can't do everything, but I try to do as much as I can.
And I definitely salute you for all that you've done. Now, you've been doing this for so long. How did you get into pageants? Like, how did that all come about? Do you even remember the first pageant you entered?
Yeah, I do remember. My gay mother at the time was Tandy Andrews, and she actually brought me to the mainstream of national pageantry when she brought me to Atlanta, Georgia, to actually compete in Black Universe. And ever since then, it was just like, that brought me to Atlanta because I, really liked how the feeling of Atlanta had, was giving me at the time. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and Dallas is very conservative. So anyone who has bright ideas and wants to push the edge when it comes to entertainment, they're not really able to do that without some type of restriction. So for me, at the time, I felt like I couldn't be just put in one type of box, I guess you could say, and I wanted to be able to explore and expand my horizon, so that's what I did. I took a chance and decided to step out on faith and leave Dallas and move to Atlanta, and everything there has been a blessing ever since for me.
Definitely. What's up, if you guys are just now tuning in? We're talking to the beautiful Miss Raquel, Lord, so make sure you tell a friend to call in at 818-572-2935 or log in online at blogtalkradio.com/touchaneighbor. Now, I had the honor of meeting you for the very first time back in 2010. I was emceeing in Montgomery, and since then I've had the opportunity to watch you perform several different shows in several different cities, and each time I've been absolutely amazed. When you get ready to hit the stage as an entertainer, do you have a favorite song or a favorite artist you like to perform?
Well, I think we all have favorites. I think one of the things that people have to understand is that artists are always evolving and coming, being discovered daily. So we gravitate to those who really touch us in a special way when it comes to, being the person with their music and all of that. So I said that to say I do have favorite artists, but I'm always liking the new energy and the new talent that's always being discovered as well. So one of my favorites, I like to do Sade. I love to do Diana Ross. I like Beyonce, Janet Jackson, of course the legendary girls of that caliber. But I'm very diverse in my art form when it comes to entertainment, so I really don't put restrictions on what I like or who I would like to portray when I'm on stage in the persona of Raquel Lord.
And that's definitely what's something else. Out of your own opinion, from what you know as a fact, who do the people love to see you perform? Like, once you pull this number out your bag, the girls are going to go up. Is there one specific artist that gets praise reviews from your audience?
I can't answer that because I'm not my audience.
Okay. If you guys are just tuning in, we're talking to Raquel Lord in the Candy Shop. We've been working on this interview for so long, and I'm so glad to have you in the building once again. Now, I know for a fact when you're upstairs, you're in a zone, you're chilling, you got your Sprite, you're in front of the mirror, you're getting ready, you're getting yourself prepared. What is going through your head before you hit the stage?
Basically just to, do what I do. I try to stay in my own lane and do what I do best, and that's, basically who I am as an individual. I don't try to really take on more than I can chew, I guess you could say, and I think once everybody learns how to do that, you really get the best authentic entertainers in the business, and they just do the best that they can do.
Now, you are a part of a roster by the name of the Stars of Century. How did that come about? Is it an honor for you to be a part of such an amazing showcase? And how long have you been doing shows?
I've been doing shows for about 23 years. And you said, how did I become a part of the Stars of the Century?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I became a part of the Stars of the Century when we used to perform at Loretta's, and we were having issues with our manager at the time, who was actually the management of the club, because we felt like they didn't appreciate us financially as well as our efforts, what we were bringing to the stage. We never get paid in this industry what we're actually worth, but we can put a number on it in order to try to make a substantial living that will be conducive to our lifestyle. But for myself, I was chosen, as well as Basha, Monty St. James, Archie Bonet, Almilan Dupree, Nicole, Love Dupree, Jasmine Bonet, Sasha Sanchez, Tamisha Iman, and Sasha Valentino. We were all chosen at one particular time to be a part of the Star Century. And it just, I don't know, it just, for some reason, it manifested into something great. We've been going on now for 14 years, and we, had trials and tribulations, but in a cast and in a family, you have those. That's what, makes us grow stronger.
That's definitely what's up. We got to give you a round of applause for 14 years. So I got to give a major salute to you and your cast members for holding on and doing it for so long. You definitely give Atlanta an amazing look, and it represents the whole community worldwide, so I definitely salute you guys for that. You've been doing it for a long time. I don't know if this is kind of out of line, but is retirement ever in the back of Raquel Lord's mind, or is it kind of like you feel like this is what you were made and born to do?
Well, I think with anything, there's always an ending. It just depends on how you are able to brace your ending. I know in my pageantry world, retirement is up on the horizons pretty soon. But as far as performing, I think that's a lucrative business for me to be able to, even when I go back into mainstream corporate America, for me to always still be able to perform on the side. I'm never one to shut down on talent that God has given me, and that's part of talent that I think He's given me to be able to maintain.
That's definitely what's up. If you guys are tuning in, we're talking here with Raquel Lord here in the TV shop. Make sure you tell a friend to call in 818-572-2935 or log in online at blogtalkradio.com. You can definitely check out this amazing conversation of talking to an amazing woman. It's crazy that you brought up corporate America, because that was one of the next questions is, how has life been with you as Raquel in corporate America, or has you just taken to the entertainment industry as your source of income?
Well, it's been a blessing for me. I've never really had any issues, and I know everybody's journey and everybody's deck of cards are different, because that's just how life, deals different things. But I've never really had issues when it came to corporate America. I've always chosen to make my own decisions if I wanted to stay or if I wanted to leave, based on finances and what would be beneficial for me at the time in my lifestyle. I think what has happened for me recently within maybe the last 5 years is that it was more lucrative for me to be the entertainer and make the money, opposed to me being a part of corporate America making less money and being stressed out and this, that, and other. So I think that's the conscious decision that I made for myself. Now, everybody is not able to do that, because it takes a very structured and very well-rounded individual to be able to succeed on both sectors like that, especially if you've done them at both times, to be able to work in corporate America, then turn around and perform and keep a balance and be just as consistent on both sides. But for me, it was more financially lucrative for me, and I also had more fun being the entertainer. Now, there are times when you are entertaining and you don't always benefit financially what you think that you should probably get, but, that comes with the territory, because, we have holidays, weather, can sometimes affect our, our abilities to be able to have patrons come out and patronize us, to the clubs and stuff like that. But that's when you have to have the business mindset of being able to know how to set back for a rainy day and save. I learned that a long time ago.
Right, I totally understand. And not only have you been a part of the business, but you've created opportunities for other individuals to take part of it. Now, I remember very, very vividly you having your own talent showcase to allow individuals to come in. How are things with that? Is that still something that you're working on? Is that still something you have available? Because it seems to me that was your way of giving back to inspiring individuals like yourself.
It was. I decided to let that go. I'm actually working now with one of my other colleagues in the business that I work with. Her name is Phoenix, and they have a talent night at the Jungle on Wednesday night. And I judge that now, but I chose to let the talent show go because I started running into an obstacle where it felt like the new entertainers that were coming out, who were going to be the entertainers of tomorrow, that they felt obligated that I had to do it. And it was nothing that I had to do. I did it because I wanted to be able to give back and try to invest into the next generation. And, anytime that you feel like that something is taken advantage of and not appreciative, a lot of times, people have a tendency to just have high expectations, but they won't put those high expectations on themselves. So in order for me to stay sane and for me to stay calm in those areas, I found it was just best for me to just make sure that I was able to find a balance, continue to I'll just be the living example. And, if they saw something that they saw in me on stage, then maybe they'll learn it that way. But as far as me having to actually create an avenue for them, I felt like, I did it for 7 years. I felt like that was enough, I would have done it probably longer. But, when things become overwhelming and you just feel like, things are not working in its best interest, people have a tendency to let things go, and that's what I chose to do at the time.
Wow, and I definitely salute you for at least giving the opportunity, and I definitely 7 years, that's a long run, so hats off to you in that lane. That was a long, I didn't even know it was going for that long, so you've been working
really,
we
had it
really,
at different
venues.
It was, we had it at different venues at, at time to time because, sometimes the clubs would close and all those different things. But through the course of it all, I was still able to maintain and still be able to, have a creative space for them to be able to showcase their talents. And that's all I was really concerned with. It was financed by me the majority of the time. Everything was basically created by me so that, people in the community would be able, the new generation, they wouldn't feel like that they had to be a professional in order to, maybe get on the stage with the stars of the century.
Right. Well, I salute you for that. And that kind of brings me into the next question, because I know even though at that point that was your way of giving back, and we're definitely going to get into your spiritual side of Tabby later because I know about it, firsthand just from watching and observing you. But how do you protect yourself when everybody wants to be a part of what you build as Raquel Lord? Like, how do you kind of stay away from the negativity that could come along with you being in the spotlight?
Well, I think a lot of it comes with wisdom. I've gained wisdom from being in the business so long. I've had my trials and tribulations over the years, as anyone would have. But I also think, too, just asking for God to, direct my path. I always live by the saying that, seek thee first the kingdom of heaven and all things shall be added unto you. So if my mindset is always that, if I'm always being the living example that God is wanting me to be, he will guide my footsteps in every direction that I need to go on. So I said that to say that is what really keeps me balanced and it keeps me protected in every area of my life. I really don't have any perfect strategy for that. I just have a good discernment of people, and, I'm not afraid now in, where I'm at to say, no, I don't want to do something or I can't do it because I don't want to compromise who I am or compromise someone else because they would see me in a different light that they probably wouldn't want to see me in. And that's another part of having to protect the image and the legacy that, we all try, strive so hard to build and protect in the industry.
Right. And now, most people are self-proclaimed. They give themselves titles. But, baby, you are the world-renowned rock stocking, Miss Raquel Lord. How did the rock stocking title come about? At what point in your career did you gain that?
The rock stocking came from the ballroom scene and Sophia. It was kind of combination.
Okay.
That's where the name kind of cultivated and came from. Its conception came from those two arenas together.
And you were very active in the ballroom scene. Do you look at that as was it a phase, or is it a part of your story? Is that like how influential was the ballroom scene to you right now?
It was. Well, for me, it was very influential because it was all about. It teaches you how to be it teaches you how to be able to have structure in competition and not be able I can say it for me during my generation of competing and stuff. I still participate in the ballroom scene, but I'm not so much as active when it comes to actually walking and being in competition. I'm more now of a mentor and still the overall mother of the House of Balenciaga. So my direction now is to teach and educate and enlighten and try to uplift those who might be slacking in some of those areas. But for myself, it will always be part of my story. I'm an icon now. I've been in the ballroom scene over 20 years. So you're labeled as an icon once you've been in that over 20 years, once they deem you icon. So there's really not a higher level that you can go. I think in anything it's a phase, but it's still a part of who I am. So I think there are different phases in every avenue, in every aspect of one's life or well-being. There's always different phases, but I don't think those phases really ever leave you. I just think they're part of who you are, to what you become.
And I definitely want people to pay attention to the fact that you said you were deemed an icon, and that wasn't something you just gave yourself. So I definitely salute you for that and the time that you put in the ballroom scene and just sharing yourself with us, because you've given us a lot on the stage. And I look at you as a very private person, because I know there's a lot of people who want to know more about you. Like I said, how can you protect yourself from so many people that want a part of what you built? If you guys are just tuning in, we're talking to Raquel Lloyd, an amazing entertainer, a person that I absolutely admire here in the candy shop for the very first time. Tell a friend to call in 818-572-2935 or log in online at blogtalkradio.com. Touch your neighbor. Now, Raquel, I want to know a little bit more about you. Like, at what age did you realize Raquel was inside of you and that you wanted to embark and just embrace her?
Probably about between the ages of maybe 17 and 21.
Okay. Were there a chain of events that prompted things, or was it just like confirmation that this is it, this is me, this is the route I'm going to take?
No, I think a lot of it has to do with your surroundings and being cultivated in the area that's going to best suit you for your lifestyle, that's going to help you become the best you can be. I think that's kind of what happened with me. During a young age, my parents didn't really understand the whole sexual identity crisis type thing, because, they were not knowledgeable of it. My parents are very knowledgeable of it now, and, we're very close. But there was a period where we were separated probably for about 16 years, and through the course of that, that's when my transition actually occurred. And when my parents came to Miss Gay US of A and they saw how well respected that I was by the people in the community, and how positive that they, embraced and, uplifted who I was and, and what I've accomplished, their mindset was very, our child has really did well for herself. So in that, I guess they kind of got a little, what's the word? I guess you could say they felt prideful and got props, because they felt like even through the hard times, my child, our child still kept the core values that we taught her. So I think that was I think that was a turning point, basically, for my family to be able to say, love is unconditional.
Wow, and I'm so glad that you all have that. During that 16-year separation, what kind of toll did they have on you as an individual, when it was kind of like the people that I've grown to love, that taught me everything that I know, don't really understand what's really going on with me at this point? How did that affect you?
Well, to be honest, it really did not affect me a lot then. And the reason why I say that, and I hope it doesn't sound harsh, is because I was still trying to find out who I was and what I was supposed to become and be. So I was in the mindset that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to try to be the best who I can be, but I cannot worry about what other people are going to think, because they have their issues and I have my issues. If you're going to be, a good mentor or a good example for somebody, you first have to figure out what your isms are, and if you don't have any, or if you have some, you need to deal with them so that you'll be able to teach others to deal with whatever issues that they have, So I think for myself, being in that space and God cover me during that time, because I always ask the question why when I think about my peers not being here and, family gone and all this, and I say to myself, Lord, why did you spare me? And all I can think of is his grace and his mercy, covered me during that time. And then I just think about, this is how it's ordained, ordained to be. This is just how, how it's supposed to be. So, but it's just one of those things that, you start to think about how the past has affected your present, and then you think about how blessed you are. You move in that, and you're gratified by it. You don't look at it as, I hate my past and this, that, and other. You learn from it. You say, well, God, I thank you from it, because there was a lesson in that I learned from it.
Wow. You are teaching me a lot, and I hope you guys are definitely paying attention. We're talking to Raquel Lloyd. It's crazy that you mentioned being a mentor, but when you were going through your transition and you were making the changes that brought you to the woman that you are today, did you have a mentor that you could seek advice from that led you in the right direction, or did you have to go through this whole situation by yourself and learn it for yourself?
Well, I kind of learned it on my own, but I took a lot of I was the type of person, I would look at other people's situations, and I would look to see if it was if it benefited them in a good place. And I always looked at my mother, Tandy Andrews. I always patterned myself and always looked at my mother as the woman figure who I wanted to become. I never looked at myself as, contrary to belief, Raquel Lloyd and the Rock Sock, and that's a persona that's on stage. But Raquel Cuffey, who, goes to church, buys groceries, pays rent, all the regular things that, everybody else does, I pattern myself after my mother, Sharon Johnson. So when I think of that, I think of, that's who I wanted to become, because that's my soul being. The on-stage persona is just fantasy, but the real-life reality is Raquel Cuffey.
Wow, and I thank you so much for sharing, Raquel Cuffey, here in the candy shop. I definitely just really, really appreciate you. What has been the most difficult part? Now, I know for a fact that your connection with God may have kind of altered the effect that it had on you, but during this whole situation, during your lifespan, what was the most difficult part for you that brought you to this point right now in your faith?
The most difficult part? Probably separation, and probably having the expectations of others, having it higher than the expectations of what people have for you, that, they'll place them on you as the entertainer, but they don't place them on themselves.
Right.
I work in an industry where, there are a lot of critics, and there are a lot of people who have, a lot of things to say, be it good, bad, or indifferent. But at the end of the day, if you were to challenge those individuals to try to do what you do, they couldn't even do, a fourth of what, just even trying. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
people, look back and they always see the finished product, but they don't see the recipe that is put together to get the finished product.
Right. If you guys are just tuning in, we're talking to Raquel Lloyd here in the candy shop. What is one of the biggest misconceptions about you and the lifestyle that you live? Like, what are some things that you hear people say and you just sit up and shake your head and don't even reply to it because you know it's nonsense?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because I had one of my nieces. That's funny you asked that. I had one of my nieces. I was supposed to go help her with something, and she felt like that my demands were too much for her. And I know people handle their business a certain way, but in that same retrospect, people have to understand that I handle my business a certain way. And anytime that you invite or seek out someone to give counsel, direction, your talent, you have to understand that everyone is different, and everybody does things at different times, and everybody does things differently. And I think for me, that's one of the biggest misconceptions. People say that I'm demanding. For myself, I was not raised to take less, and be treated less than, what I expect people to treat me as and what I would give to other people. But for some people, because they don't have those same standards, it can come off demanding, it can come off pompous, it can come off arrogant, it can come off so many different ways. And my thing is, all those things have to be part of who I am, because if they were not, then you would not appreciate the persona that you get on stage, that you live and breathe for so much. Some might agree, some might disagree, in some areas and say, well, you could have done it this way. Well, that way did not work for me. If this works for you, then you do it your way. But I said that to say, that's why I stay in my lane. I do what works for me, and the person that it works for them, I let it work for them. I think that's one of the biggest, hardships in this business, and just being who we are as the entertainers. Always trying to live up to the expectations of others, when in actuality, for myself, I just try to live up to the expectations of what I set myself to be, not what other people have.
Wow. And I definitely salute you for all that you've done. Now, along with critics, like you, in this lifestyle, there are so many of them, and like we said earlier, the majority of them are self-proclaimed critics, and they make themselves critics in their own privacy. But how do you, as Raquel Lord, deal with the speculations of your transition when people begin to go out and say she's done this, she did this, and she has this, or she had this work done? And what do you ever feel the need to correct anyone, or are you one of those people that just let people think whatever they want to think because you know what it is?
Well, I guess for me, my thing is what difference does it make? Because you can try to correct someone, but people will still tell you, well, no, you did A, B, and C, and da-da-da. They're still going to question you. At the end of the day, their mind is already made up, in my opinion. I feel it's only credible if someone is wanting to walk in your footsteps and they come up to you and be man enough or woman enough to ask you face-to-face, and they're genuine about it, opposed to speculation and gossip that is, sometimes heard in the street.
Right. In this lifestyle, and not even the lifestyle that you live, but the fact that you're an entertainer, you're an international entertainer, how has your love life been? Is Raquel wooed up at this point? Is marriage in the future? Is there a special someone? Like, is love in the picture at all with your lifestyle and your entertainment industry business going and being so demanding?
Well, first of all, I love everyone. My lover is probably my business.
Okay.
With me entertaining and stuff, and it's very demanding to be able to have someone who will be able to accept this type of lifestyle, because it's not easy. But at this time, no, there is not anyone. It's my two babies, Duchess and Chingy, and Jesus.
And I can't believe we can't hear them right now in the background. I remember coming over to the house, and they were very busy that day. If you guys are just tuning in, we're talking to Ms. Raquel Lord. Now, we're going to get into the spiritual part, because I really want to get into that part, and I really want you to share a lot of your wisdom with a young individual who may want to take the footsteps of you and become a little Raquel Lord, or embrace you in some form of manner. But I want to know, on those days when you're down and out, you don't feel like being bothered, you don't want to do a show, you don't want to go to rehearsal, things are just not working out for you, and you just want to be alone, like, how do you encourage yourself on those days when you don't feel beautiful or you just don't want to be bothered?
I pray.
Wow. And that goes to say, how influential is your spiritual relationship at this point? And I want you to talk about it in a sense to allow people to understand that even when you made the changes that you feel are all right for you, that God still accepts everyone. So how influential has your spiritual relationship with God played in your life, leading you up to the woman that you are today?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, if you live by the Word and you know the Word, you have to read it for yourself. There's an Old Testament and there's a New Testament. you have to be able to understand that the Old Testament was before Jesus Christ came into the picture. When Jesus Christ came, that was our avenue for us to be able to, by grace and mercy, to be able to go through him. Before him, there was no grace and mercy. There was a lot of, as you know, if you're a biblical reader, there was a lot of sacrificing, But through the course of time and reading myself, that's where the knowledge comes from, because you have to read the Word and you have to understand it yourself, I'm a firm believer. I would prefer that people in our community would read the Bible when there's nothing wrong. But what happens is sometimes is that when life challenges start to provoke themselves and start to fall upon, people who we love, that's when they want to run and, run for Christ and this, that, and other. And my mindset is sometimes that has to happen in order for, Christ and God to get your attention, but is it favorable for him to answer your request at that time? Because you still had the same opportunity during the times when everything was going good. I'm not God, I'm not trying to be perfect and none of that, but I always, I'm a firm believer that, the laws of the universe, what we put out is what we get back. So I'm always conscious of trying to be a living example for those, even through this interview and even through people who might disagree, with what I say. It's okay. I appreciate disagreement because what it does, it challenges my way of thinking and my theology of, how I was raised and how I see things and how, come to cultivate with, to fellowship with other people and other believers. But my spirituality, I think, is the most connected that it's ever been. I think it's the most prevalent in my life. And I, too, am a person who has issues with certain things that I do from time to time, because I always have to make sure I have balance when it comes to being the entertainer and still being the living example that God needs for me to be. Not for what I want to be, but for what God needs me to be so my purpose can be fulfilled for him.
Wow. What advice do you have for that young individual who was about 17, that had the same mind frame that you had at 17 when you were trying to figure out yourself, and they want to take the steps that you've taken? What advice do you have for them?
The advice I would probably tell them is that success does not come overnight. We live in a microwave society now, and everybody wants things overnight. But if you look at it, the people who get things overnight, they don't keep it for longevity.
Wow.
If you work very hard and you take chances, I think that's where the favor sometimes comes in, because you never know what your best potential or your best attribute is until you step out on it and try it to see if it works. And then that's where you might find your true self, because you just decided to step out and try it.
Wow.
Never give up.
And I hope everybody is listening and paying attention. After so many years at it, after so many years of doing it, so many accomplishments, and just being where you are right now, and just having the peace that you have, do you have any regrets?
Oh, no. I don't have any. The only regrets that I have is that I wish that I would have learned some of the things earlier and been able to probably try to help those who have already passed on and transitioned over.
Wow. If you guys are just tuning in, you're talking to Miss Raquel, Lord, how can the people stay in contact with you? Whether it's social media, they want to figure out what steps they need to take to get to where you are, and they want to be a mentee, how can the people stay connected with what you have going on, or they just want to find you at a show? Well, how can the people find you?
Well, basically, I work Monday nights at the Start of the Century here in Atlanta, Georgia, on Monday nights. I'm also working at the Jungle on Wednesday nights, where we have the talent night, which is called the Night of Stars. And then I work at Burkhart's on the weekends on Fridays. And I have some upcoming events that are possibly underway for Blake's that we're trying to work on now for Sundays. So that's where you can see me.
You guys, I just want to thank you so much, Ms. Raquel, Lord, for just being so humble and just being right at the tip of my finger. You are always welcome to the candy shop. You are a friend of the candy shop. I really, really appreciate you for all that you've done. Do you have any final words before we close out today?
Well, are we going to see you tonight at the show?
Oh, absolutely. I have to. Now, I have to.
Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure.
Right. You guys are the wonderful Miss Raquel Lloyd. Thank you so much, Raquel.
Well, thank you for having me, Kenya.
Have a good one.
You too. Be blessed. Bye-bye.